We're joined now by our Senior Counsel for Global Affairs, Secretary Mike Pompeo. And Secretary Pompeo, we all got the news alert this morning. It came across our phones very early, about 8 a.m. Central Time here in Tennessee, Logan.
Started getting texts.
Started getting texts, started getting the alerts, and we saw that Harris had just picked Minnesota Governor Tim Walz to join her presidential ticket. Just to get your initial thoughts on that announcement.
Well, Jordan, I served with Tim Walz when I was a member of Congress. This is deeply unserious. This is left politics at its most dangerous. This is a pick that Vice President Harris made, which doesn't do a single thing about someone who cares about the border. Indeed, he offered a ladder to get them across. This is someone who has rejected the basic tenets of law and order in his own city. We saw that during the George Floyd riots. I observed him as a member of Congress, not taking seriously his responsibilities. And we know this too. Vice President Harris is part of a Biden team on foreign policy that has set the world aflame. And Governor Walz has literally zero experience dealing with these complicated and important security issues. So I, for the life of me, I can't figure out how it's the case that the American people would stare at Governor Walz and say, yeah, that's the guy I want to keep my children safe. That's the guy I want to grow my economy, or that's the guy I want to secure my southern border. They just demonstrated a lack of seriousness that is befuddling to me.
Yeah, I mean, you bring that up. You do realize, because Minnesota was in the news a lot over these last few years, but not for good things. I mean, and this was all while Walz was governor. So, for instance, we know how radical he is. Like you said, on the border, he was saying, "I'll offer you up. Here's the ladder." He wanted to make Minnesota, a sanctuary state. On energy, to go full EV in a state that, of course, has pretty extreme weather, and the batteries just aren't ready for that yet. On crime, and of course, they had the riots in Minnesota during COVID, the shutdowns, the taxing, the spending. I mean, if you look at it, you kind of go, okay, he actually got a lot of attention, and the state got a lot of attention. Maybe not him, but the state got a lot of attention over the last few years, more than Minnesota maybe would usually get. That's not how I'd want my state to look if I didn't have to.
No, the contrast that will be presented, right, between the San Francisco model and the Minneapolis model, and what I think everyday ordinary Americans who want to raise their family, live their life, they want their wages a little bit higher, they want their streets safe, they want to be able to go into Walgreens and not have everything locked up. This cannot be encouraging for those people to see that she picked someone just like her. It shouldn't surprise you that Ilhan Omar is ecstatic, beside herself happy that this progressive leftist was picked to be her vice presidential candidate. But for ordinary Americans who aren't particularly political or who aren't following everything breathlessly like so many, I think they're going to see this, and I think they will reject it because they know that, frankly, it's just not good for them.
Secretary Pompeo, I wanted you to respond to this clip. Our team just pulled this about Walz's relationship with China. As we know, he lived in China, had a significant amount of time there. But let's take a listen, and then being in the positions that you've been in, I want to get your thoughts.
Been focusing on, and I lived in China, and as I said, I've been there about 30 times, but if someone tells you they're an expert on China, they're probably not telling you the truth, because it's a complex country. But it's critically important for us. I don't fall into the category that China necessarily needs to be an adversarial relationship. I totally disagree.
So that's the comment of him saying that he doesn't believe China should be an adversarial relationship. He's been focused and he's lived there. People are not telling you the truth about the relationship with China. I want to get your opinion.
What on earth is he speaking about? We don't get to choose whether they're an adversary. They have chosen to be an adversary. We can see it every day. We can see it with the threats they're posing in the Pacific. We can see it what they're doing here inside the gates, inside the United States. No, Xi Jinping has made China an adversary. And when I hear him say that, this is a model that has failed the United States. We've failed to recognize them as an adversary for the past 40 years. And we've tried to placate them, saying, gosh, if we just sell them more stuff or buy more stuff, they'll be more like us. The truth is they are eating our lunch. They've destroyed tens of thousands of jobs in his home state of Minnesota, stealing manufacturing and intellectual property from the people of Minnesota. To foist that on the American people as the vice president or part of the Harris-Walz team would be devastatingly bad for the American economy and the American worker.
Secretary Pompeo, we know that at least 5 service members, that includes U.S. troops and military contractors, they were hurt in Iran-backed missile strikes in Iraq. We don't think this is the actual bigger response that they've been talking about to the killing of, taking out of Ismail Haniyeh from Hamas. What move do you think Iran is looking to make soon? I mean, everybody's kind of on edge. I know a lot of folks in Israel on edge as well about what Iran might try to do next.
So look, I haven't seen the classified information. I don't know what the latest intelligence shows, but it is very clear that the Iranians have expressed that they are going to make a penetrating deep strike into Israel, or at least try to do so. I bet the Israelis are pretty well prepared, but Iran is a big, powerful nation as well. I suspect that what you saw at Assad was a message to Joe Biden and to Vice President Harris. That was a message that says, remember, we can reach you as well. So whatever it is we do next, just know we can hit your soldiers, we can hit your sailors, your airmen, wherever they may be. So when we take our strike, our expectations, you will stand down and allow the Israelis to have to defend themselves on their own. I pray that President Biden will not continue to be so weak and so failing to allow those kind of strikes, to allow Americans to be injured and to do nothing.
Secretary Pompeo, as always, we appreciate all of your insight into this, and of course, the breaking news about this pick. And I want to go to you more throughout, because I think hearing from you, hearing from Senator Blackburn earlier, both serving in Congress with Tim Walz, we're going to want a lot more about that.
Yeah, I think so. I think it's great to have Secretary Pompeo and anyone who can really look into it, because most people, I mean, if you look around the world, I think, what was the percentage? It was like 70% had never heard of him before,
right,
of the American population. So this is brand new information to people. They may see certain news reports, certain articles. I told you, I saw the left kind of putting out, hey, he's a moderate. Hey, he, look what he did. The NRA endorsed him numbers of years ago. And of course, they don't acknowledge what he's been doing in the last decade. So that's something that we're going to cover here. Thank you, Secretary Pompeo, for joining us. We always appreciate your thoughts and opinions on all the breaking news and everything that's happening. But right now, everyone, we are just a few days into our extension, our Life and Liberty Drive for the month of August. You heard me talk about it. Look, we know yesterday we talked about the economy a lot. It is hard to come on here and just say, hey, please give us support. But no, we won't be able to provide not just this broadcast, because there's not ad supported. This broadcast is created solely by supporters of the ACLJ, those that give individual and reoccurring donations. And I know that someone approached our family yesterday and said they were an ACLJ champion on the streets. I heard that, which is amazing. An ACLJ champion is someone that gives to the ACLJ on a recurring basis. But right now, you heard what Jordan talked about. We've extended this Life and Liberty Drive because we've never needed it more. We've never needed to be more committed. When you hear the rhetoric that's coming out, you know that this potential Harris-Walz administration could be the most anti-Israel, will probably be the most anti-Israel administration in history if they get elected. Now we need to fight back, and we are doing that. We are supporting our friends in the pro-life community. We got big news coming up for that next week or the next couple of weeks, and we just filed to defend life at the Supreme Court, and we're defending Israel in front of the International Criminal Court. You've heard about all of this. We are literally fighting to save our republic from real threats to democracy. But we can't carry out that mission without you, our ACLJ supporters and ACLJ champions. Keep us in the fight. Have your gifts doubled today. You got to go to aclj.org, make those donations, or you can just scan the QR code on your screen.